The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
At this pivotal time of humanity's evolution, we are beginning to remember our organic technology. A technology, when used correctly, can create an experience that the majority of the people the world over want to live. It is time to use this technology consciously for our own benefit and healing, and no longer unconsciously for our own demise. We are multi-dimensional creators, creating both our own personal experience and our collective experience moment to moment. We invite you to join us as we reawaken this technology through experiment and experience our power to create and manifest.
Hello and good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's been quite the lineup of shows over the last few hours on CCN Network, so it's nice to be coming to you with the collective imagination. So welcome, Michael, once again, of course.
Hey, Lisa. How's it going today?
Freezing.
Freezing?
To be honest.
Really?
Freezing.
I didn't know it got cold down there.
Well, it's all relative. I mean, it's not 3 feet of snow, but it's cold. What about where you are?
We're heading right into summer. I'm in Florida in the United States, so we're like, I don't know how it transfers into Celsius, but we're like hot.
I think hot's hot in any language. Yeah,
yeah, we're like 90-something degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, that sounds nice. I'll just use the glow off the heater and try and imagine it's actually warm. It's not. It's just glow. So last week, we put out an invitation to all the groups, organisations that are genuinely working towards helping humanity, and created a space for them to come together and work in harmony, connect, be cohesive with each other, be harmonious. And I'm hoping Mark Hoser will jump in and let us know if he's seen anything to that effect, because he's got his finger on every pulse, that man. Is he online?
He hasn't responded to my Skype message yet. Right. Yeah. He's online though. Let me see if I see him.
I will send him a message. So I can't say I did. In fact, if anything, and it may well have been a byproduct of this, what I did see was an opportunity to question some of these organisations and groups and collectives in order to really ascertain their agendas. So I did see that in the last week, I have to say. Maybe an opportunity for both the public and those involved to get clean and clear about their true goals. I'm just going to open up the chat room. I haven't actually got it at this point. One moment. So I can say hi to whoever's in there. Who have we got today? Now, I know you don't spend a lot of time online looking at world events, but you do keep a tab on things energetically. So, what's your measure?
We're in a really solid growth period, so I can feel the summary of things based on growth in the unified energy field, and it's really starting to expand. Like the density of vibration, like the thickness of it is getting opened up. Like it's real, or we're really, it's getting connected on the outer layers to the inner layers. So the membranes that separate all these different layers of densities and dimensions, they're just like crumbling. It feels amazing. So there's, bound to be a profound change in everybody that's already awake and people that aren't. I mean, there's going to be a lot of spontaneous awakenings this year. You can bet on that.
Forced in some respects by world events, as we've seen in the past. Okay. I'm getting, I don't know how accurate it is, but there is an image that's getting clearer and clearer. And that is the planet and the planet existing throughout the different dimensions. And it has varying layers of, oh no, how can I put this? It's hard to put it into words, actually. So say the planet, and just for the sake of description, the planet exists in what we call 3D as we experience it, but it's also in 4, 5, 6, 7, and whatever, just for the sake of numbers to give it something. And in each of those dimensions, it as you go down the numbers, gets denser and denser and denser and denser. And that there are beings who are at home in those dimensions. That's their realm, that's their frequency range. Just as humans here we have 3D, that's our range. So it is feasible for multiple beings from different dimensions to call Earth home.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay. Yep. That's something that, strangely enough, has only kind of just really clicked in for me. Because there's, when we talk about the reptilians and things like that, there's often the mention that they consider this planet their home. They were here first, so to speak. And if they, and I'm purely, I know I'm speaking very broadly, and I'm using that as an example. But if for example, they exist within that 4th or even 5th dimension frequency range, Earth existed there before it existed in 3D, before it densified into 3D. Is that a word? Then that would be home for them. And yet, as it sort of pushed into 3D and became denser, they would want to go with it, but can't. There's this whole story kind of forming in my head, I guess. But that's kind of how the narrative is starting to play out for me at the moment, is that you've got these beings in 4, 5, 6, 7 who call Earth home in those dimensions, in those densities. They're able to see below, again, speaking very broadly, see what's going on below in a denser environment and want to be a part of that, but can't, because their vehicles, their frequency range, whatever, is not suitable. It's not their realm. It's not their it's not their world. It's not their creation. It's not their reality. Something, whatever the right word is. So they have found ways to play in it to be in it but not of it. Whereas we are both in it and of it. And there's still, this goes back to some of the discussions that I've had on different shows, the idea that our history, as we know it, has been rewritten multiple times. And it's still not out of the realm of possibility for me that there have been stories, legends, myths, artifacts planted in order to give us a false history about where we came from, about, I mean, the whole idea that the Anunnaki, or one of these kind of names, genetically engineered us, and these are our true gods and creators and all of that sort of thing, could well just be a story that was inserted into our timeline for us to discover in order to lead us down a particular timeline or path, whatever you want to call it.
Well, the beliefs that you currently hold within your consciousness forms the circuitry by which all other experience becomes possible. So, time doesn't work in a line progression from one point to the other. I mean, it does on the 3D level, but energetically it doesn't work like that. It starts from within and radiates out. So if you want to know the true place, like where we come from, like we come from God, we come from source, we come right out into this, and the whole time stream is formed from there. We're trying to merge our consciousness to get back with that level, or unify with it to where we evolve beyond time, and beyond space. But the longer we stay in the insistence of a linear progression in order to feel secure in our consciousness, to feel comfortable, and that's really what it is. Because if you imagine, if you truly evolve beyond time, it's very startling and disturbing to the consciousness. It takes a big adjustment period to, if it actually started happening to you, where time barriers started dissolving, and time became a byproduct of your current held paradigm within yourself. I mean, it sounds like it would be fun, and but it would be very disturbing at first. So it's sort of like a safety protection mechanism. We're not quite ready to evolve beyond time. We need it. It's like a comfort, a thing
How does that tie into time cycles and spirals of time, that we're ultimately just going around and around, but it's in a spiral, so that we kind of end up in the same place, but not quite every time we loop. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a
Can you
spring?
ask that a slightly different way? I mean, I'm catching the visual.
Well, we have cycles within cycles.
Uh-huh.
We have a day cycle inside a week cycle, inside a month cycle, inside a year cycle.
Mhm.
Some of those are purely mind cycles, really, and some of them are observable, measurable, by looking at the way the sun goes and the moon and the seasons. But how can I put this? We're seeing anomalies in time. We're, deja vu. Time standing still. Incidences where timelines seem to actually merge or converge. Two things existing simultaneously. The one thing existing simultaneously. Yeah. For example, we had Linda, who regularly listens to this show, talked about her old car and her new car existing in the same place and time. How do we explain those kinks? I mean, I keep thinking of the black cat in the Matrix, but how do we explain those in a linear fashion when you talk about time being linear?
They wouldn't be. It's inexplainable in a linear fashion. What's happening is that the human consciousness, in various degrees, depending on the person, their consciousness is beginning to span beyond the limited range of perception of the singular linear timeline. So these kinks aren't happening in time; they're happening within individuals, and they're not really kinks; they're expansions in perception. Like we're starting to grow out of our little training box, which is what Earth has been. I wouldn't call it I don't want to belittle it. It's a massive training box, but it is a box. And as our consciousness begins to expand past these limits, then we're going to start experiencing things that don't make sense in the linear sense. They don't make sense, but in the fifth dimensional understanding of things, they make perfect sense that all time is simultaneous and it all can be accessed right now in the moment. So it's not so much that, well, like I said, it's within the individual that our consciousness is beginning to expand beyond the boundaries that were placed as a product of the forms that we're in.
Okay. If, as you say, and as I believe too, that what we are doing, this process is not one of ascension and leaving, but more of an ascension and a grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Why the reference to fifth dimensional consciousness? If what we're really doing here is mastering third and becoming denser in a way, and what's the fifth dimensional perspective got to do? How does that integrate?
Okay. Well, the first thing that has to be understood is once again the difference between the terminology of dimension and density.
Density.
So your reference seems to be more towards density. So from all of my travels, from what I've seen, Earth is at a peak compression point in energy. So E equals mc squared. So the denser a manifestation is, the more energy it contains per volume. So the bodies that we're in, the physical reality that we're in, is the greatest manifestation of energy. Like it only seems to not be energy because our consciousness currently is incapable of being fully merged with it. As you develop in your energy practices, the spirit goes through a series of growth process. Like at first, well, let's just say the densities that manifest within the physical world are crystal or physical matter, crystal, water, air. So at first, our spirits start out only capable of merging with ether, which is one density lighter than air. And ether is pretty much the element that's been known as fire, which is basically just, it's air, the next lighter expression. Like water and air are the same exact thing. Air is just a lighter manifestation of that. And same thing with physical matter and water. It's all the same thing, just in different densities. And Earth reality spans three of these. It spans air and water and physical matter, which little off the point, but physical matter is also in a fluid state, and when your consciousness begins to merge with that, you can actually see its movement. But beyond that, we start out with our consciousness. Our spirits are capable of controlling, being one with ether, and this is the state that we started our journey with. And with our ether bodies in overlap with the physical body, we have enough presence to fill our nerve fiber system and enough energy to where when we think, feel, and move, it can cause enough condensation of energy to fire a tiny electrical signal through the nerve fibers to cause the muscles to flex. Otherwise, we would be completely inoperable in this world because our consciousness is not yet one with air, water, and physical matter. So we would be incapable of any movement here if it were not for the nerve fiber electrical system in the physical body. So as you begin to expand past the nerve fiber system, the first density that you come into and gain a control over is air. And air is very thick compared to the spirit of a non-awakened person. And when you first merge with it, it floors you. It's like, wow, it's so much energy that you're not comfortable in it at first. It's like it feels very thick and like just too much going on, too much happening. Well, after a bit of training, you get comfortable in air. And the next miraculous thing that happens is your consciousness is able to merge with the density of water, which is the same thing as air, just more compressed. And that's a big one because you can start to gain a presence within the cellular structure of your body. So, because there's water, all through your body and in your blood. So you can finally feel your body, which is huge. And I know that might sound absurd to some people. What do you mean? I feel my body all the time. And no, you actually don't. You're feeling interpretations of the body based on nerve fiber signals, going to your brain. Very few people actually feel the magnetic and vibrational properties of their cellular structure. And that begins to happen at the water level. The next level beyond that is the ability to actually merge your spirit, your consciousness, your essence with physical matter. And that is what's needed before there's any hope of transforming these physical bodies, because guess what, we have a skeleton, calcium, which is a crystal. So until our consciousness is comfortable enough in density, we will never become light. So you can't take a body that's dense and turn it into light without being the density itself, because you can only influence or change something that you are. You can't mentally influence anything unless your presence is within it. What I always like to say to people is if you sit on your leg the wrong way, you can't feel it anymore. When you get up to walk, you can't walk. It doesn't matter. You know how to walk, and your motor nerves might still be functioning, but because you can't feel your leg, you can't do a damn thing with it.
But is that the objective, to turn these bodies into light?
Yes, but I okay now that requires a further explanation. Light is a perception. It's not a physical state. It's a perception based on consciousness. So as you know, I travel all the time out of the body, thousands of them, and I've been to many, many, many different worlds. And I'm constantly going to worlds like usually I just wake up inside of these worlds, which means that I have a life there, a fragment of my soul that's living a life there. So I've got the same body that they do, that I wake up within. It's an extension of myself, or an alternate life, or a past life, whatever you want to call it. It's a past, future, simultaneous, in the now life on a world of a lighter density. Now, to them, it's a physical world. They eat food, they need food, they drink water, they need water. If they get cut, they bleed. If they break a bone, they got to pay for it. And, they're in their world is physical, but not to me, because Michael Monk is of a greater density. He's used to Earth gravity, and I've merged with the densities of water and air and almost entirely crystal. That's the last one, that I'm working on. And when I finish that, should have full control of the human body. But because I've mastered some of these greater levels of density, the water and the air, when I'm in their world, their body is light to me. So I'm in the same exact body they are, but I can walk through a wall if I want. I can levitate up into the air. I can shapeshift into an eagle and fly off. because I own that body, because my mind, my consciousness isn't controlling it robotically through a nerve fiber system. I am the atoms and molecules of my body, thus they respond to my mind in an electromagnetic way. So if I want to levitate, I just magnetize to repel. If I want to walk through a wall, I just expand my particles and go right through. But to them, it's physical. They can't do these things. So what I mean by transforming into light is that we will gain our consciousness will have grown enough to where when we can be merged with the physical body, and it will be light to us. But to a lesser consciousness, the only way they would be capable of being here on earth is robotically controlling it through the nerve fiber system, in which case you're subjected utterly and entirely to the preset pattern of intelligence that the design of the human body went into from the creator, from God, who set up these vehicles, these vessels for us from the beginning. There's in the circuitry of the nerve fibers and the neurons, there's a preset pattern of vibration and interpretation through the five senses, which has intelligence, which is unbreakable until we begin to gain enough mass to where our consciousness can actually rewrite that in the moment. But before then, we're the body dictates to us. We don't dictate to the body. If it gets hungry, we got to feed it. Gets thirsty, we got to quench it. And up until the point where our consciousness gains the ability to merge with the actual magnetic mass of our body, the body dictates to us. But once we can get that level of presence here, then it becomes a light body, because it's all perception.
This may well be a first now in the human body as it currently is. But I do feel like it's been done before on this planet in this density. And by that I mean what we call the Dulagar, what you guys might call Bigfoot. They do seem to be interdimensional, what we would call from this perspective interdimensional beings, in that they have that control. They can be here very physically right in front of you, and then they can disappear. They can walk through the bush and leave traces of their presence and feed their bodies and disappear. So, but they aren't human as we know it. So it's not, I don't think it's a first for this density, but I do think maybe it's a first for this particular vehicle.
Well, yeah,
Does that make sense?
I've got no knowledge, no experiential knowledge whatsoever of the Bigfoot species, or whatever you call them, but I do believe it's a first for our consciousness to do that, though. An exception might be some masters from the past, like like Christ, and so it might have been done by a few individuals, here and there. But yeah, it would definitely be a first for our species of consciousness as a whole. I think you're on mute, Lisa.
Yes, I was. I said there's no sign of Mark Hoser, which is a shame. It would have been nice to get some feedback from him.
Yeah, I'll message him again just in case.
And there are a few people in the chat room, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's been discussed so far.
Yeah, give a call in, guys, or feel free to say something in the chat
On your own experiences of anything that we've talked about.
I mean, that once you gain this energy understanding, once you begin to get a full spiritual presence within the body, it's you can see why we do this, and it's not, as some of the stories have said, almost like we're a twisted species of consciousness that just loves to put ourselves through hell and knock ourselves out and forget, so that one day we can go ha 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 and wake up and then do it all over again. I mean, no thanks. Like, that just sounds like a madhouse to me. It's our consciousness constantly seeking a greater expression of selfhood. Everything started from nothing in void space, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again. When you're in the void, you are the void. Like, there's no form, you don't have a body, and it's not like you're in the void. You are that. And when you think, like, that is your mind, you're the entire space. So here you are in the void, you're at rest. There's no movement. There's just emptiness, and you are the emptiness. Then you will think a thought or feel a feeling, and the entire thing ripples like that and causes waves and vibrations. And then if you just let go again, those ripples settle and nothing happens. And if you do that
Mhm.
again, like, have another thought, but then you take your consciousness and merge into it, then a gravity takes hold. Like that's the force of love. Like, you make a feeling or a thought and you love that thought enough to where it holds itself together into form, and then you get taken out of the void space and into the creation that was made from it. And it only stands to reason that that's how this world was made, by, what you could call the word of God, which is a consciousness that's vast. Like when it thinks a thought from that space and that thought is held, it ends up with a physical universe, and that's, huge. Like, when I do it, I end up with a light universe or a light world. And so um, that's the great gift of where we're at right here, is that a being that was of greater stature than us, made forms like training tools for us to actually merge with. But we're constantly seeking, when you understand that that's the level that we came from and that we are eternal, we're always going to be seeking greater and greater expressions of ourself, because the void, you could say, is the ultimate state of consciousness, and that's like source and where everything comes from, but it's not the ultimate experience. I mean, maybe for like 5 minutes when it's new to you, but eventually you'd be like, okay, I want to be embodied again. I want to see, I want to hear, I want to taste, I want to touch, I want to smell on a constant basis. Um, so if you can imagine the creator, and those of us that are creators, everyone will be at some point in their journey, but you're going to constantly seek a more condensed experience, a greater expression of yourself. So everything is real, but how real is it? You can see, hear, taste, touch, feel, and smell in these light worlds, but how intensely? And here in the physical world, it's very intense. It's and that's good. That's great. In the eternal scheme of things, we're always seeking greater and greater expressions of ourself, because they're more enjoyable. So when we finish what we're doing here in the physical body, it's I've approached it a few times. I've tapped into energy that was, almost enough for a full transformation, and I got to bask in it sometimes for as long as 5 minutes. And I've been out of body to the old form, or what you could call the angel body, what came before. And you own all the particles, you feel them, every atom, every molecule. It's vibrant, it's lush. Smells are more connective, the sight is more connective, and just to breathe, alters every cell in your body. Every beat of the heart is tremendous to feel. Um, but it's not as condensed as this. So when I approach these levels of energy here in the physical body, it's like, oh my God, it feels just like the angel body, except it's like 10 of the angel bodies all right on top of each other. And it's just a miracle just to breathe. Like when this is obtained, uh, we're going to be so happy just to exist, just to take a breath, just to nibble on a piece of food, or any of the things that we take for granted right now are going to become vast sensual pleasures. Like it would be a long time before we could even think past just sensations. It's going to be amazing.
Well, how about we make it a little bit more personal this week then? The comments in the chat room are: I am listening and thinking. Thanks for your questions, Lisa. Thanks for listening to each other. Thanks for your perspective, Michael. I am in deep contemplation as I listen. And then it is my sense more and more that there is a bleed through effect from other dimensions and densities. For me, there is an enhanced and growing sense of knowing, which is based on deeply felt senses, none of which can be verified in ordinary linear 3D terms by which most people understand things. Yeah, bleed through. Feels right.
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely.
Yeah, I feel today, rather than focusing on global, to make it more personal in terms
Okay.
of this group coming together and all of us individually being able to embody more of ourselves in
Mhm.
these bodies. For those people who are not accustomed to experiencing the world this way, this creates distress and freak out factor. And I think this is why we are experiencing many people and groups who are lashing out at each other, because most people want and need things to be either this or that, when in truth, it is both. There's been, well, lashing out at each other. Talk about separation and divide going on. Whoa, it's been intense.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of projecting as well. People not wanting to own their stuff,
Mhm.
um, not wanting to look at their own creation. So doing a lot of projecting, blaming. And I've done a bit of it myself. I'm not immune. Um, yeah, it's been a tricky couple of months in that regard, and you see it both in people's personal lives as well as what's going on in the global world stage. I've got to stop using the word global, haven't I? Earth stage, the big infinite flat plane, but we're not going to go there. Um, yeah, can we do that today? Can we sort of really solidify this collective that we've created through those shows and really getting back into that center point, that 0 point, and amping up our creative manifesting abilities.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just span the different densities, so no matter which level a person is at, they can get an upgrade and be brought closer into source, and feel more of themselves. And whether they're capable of merging with the ether, the air, the water, or possibly even the solidified matter, will bring everything closer, in and empower. Um, we rub off on each other when we do this, and
Yeah,
that's the great strength of being a collective. Having soul family, brothers and sisters. I mean, ultimately, everybody's soul family. Everything comes from within, so you will never ever meet a person that is not a part of your soul. It's not even possible. But there's different levels like of soul family, and different levels of consciousness, and how much it's willing to walk the path of unity, of truly accepting oneness with all things. But encouraging people more and more that we are so much stronger together, and the closer you're willing to come to source means the more of the creation that you feel as a part of yourself. um, the stronger you are, the more energy is available for use at your disposal. And I want to say again, believe I said this last week, but it doesn't work like physical energy. It's not like gas in a gas tank. It's not like food in your stomach. It does not deplete. The source is infinite. The vibrations source is eternal and constant. So when we merge together as a group, feel free to use the summary of all of the energy that you feel for anything that you want, because this energy can't be taken,
You're
and it
not
can't be
taking
given.
it off anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, it can't be given and it
Yeah.
can't be taken. It can just be exposed. Like when I do this, literally what I'm doing is I'm using my magnetism to help your consciousness span the gaps into the eternal energy that all of us are, and then we get closer to source, which means we're one with each other. So it's, nothing but good. But not only that, do we share the strength of the combined energy, but we rub off on each other. And those of us that are stronger, that have done more work, are going to rub off a little stronger than people who haven't done as much work on themselves, which is a very good thing, because we tend to be healthy. We tend to have had most of our issues fixed, and we've learned, a lot of very, very valuable stuff. So those, like, if I combine my essence with somebody that's sick, unhealthy in the body, and maybe, has a mindset like of lesser truths, because everything's true. It's just, how true is it? But let's say somebody comes from a paradigm of great limitation and their body's sick, and I merge consciousness with them because I'm more solidified. I'm going to rub off on them more than they're going to rub off on me. So basically what I'm saying is another benefit to all of this is that our strengths get shared with each other. So the knowledge that I have of metaphysics and energy will rub off in various degrees. If another person in the listening audience is a genius at mathematics, well, that rubs off on us, So we share knowledge when we do this, as well as energy.
Cool. Nice.
Looks like
I
Mark
could use
just
some
messaged me back, so he might
extra gifts right now.
Yeah. Me too. Anything that anybody's got, I'm always looking to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mark just messaged me, so he might come
He's
on.
just joined the chat room too. So come on in, Mark. Give us an update. Come on, Mark. Otherwise, we're going into the meditation.
So have you had any lucid travels, out-of-body experiences lately, Lisa?
No, just some really funky dreams. I had a couple of nights of really funky. I don't even know how to explain them.
Like more chaotic than usual?
And disturbing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I had a series of those too, and no matter what level you're at, it'll happen from time to time, because we're always connecting to more of ourselves, to more of God, of the source. And so the more you connect into source, the more you connect into your past and future lives. It's one and the same thing. You begin to have dream time experience from that perspective. I call it integrating a new fragment. So you might be like, okay, I've worked on myself, I've cleaned up, why am I having this type of stuff? Well, if you get lucid and look in the mirror, chances are you're not going to be, who you think you are. Like, I went through a series of that like just a couple of weeks ago, and had a nice out of body lucid experience where I woke up, inside of it. And I looked in the mirror, and I'm a 6-foot tall lady with dark hair, and that, you know, explains that, because I haven't seen her before. And, you know, so this is another simultaneous life, part of the soul family that I'm now connected to, and helping, you know, heal, whatever you want to call it. Looks like Mark.
I don't think we have Mark with us. Welcome, Mark.
I think you're muted, buddy.
You're muted, Mark.
How's that?
He says. That's better. Welcome.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I was had to deal with something with my son, and just a little later than I expected, because I'm sort of looking after him today instead of normal. Nice to see you.
Give us an update. Give us
Update
an update.
was,
What have you seen?
Oh, yeah, you can have one. One of the really weird things that happened was one of the main guys that I was working with, it turns out he left his body back in April 20th. It was a long time ago, but his family chose to not tell anyone for a while they sorted out some stuff. And so we just thought he was hard to get a hold of, and which made sense because he was having health issues, and it turned out he's passed on. So that was a big thing, and was really interesting.
That would make him hard to get a hold of.
You know, I was thinking, geez, he feels like he's in a coma or something, is how it felt to me. That's how it actually felt. I thought, gosh, he feels like he's in a coma or dead, or, you know, like, or close to dying. And I was like, yep, he was. And so kind of wild. But that was, he's actually one of the guys who was working really hard on the Republic, and I'm hearing that that's still on the cards, that the restoration of the Republic in the U.S. is a big thing. That there's the whole thing about China entering into the IMF. A lot of people are saying that that's Chinese currency is going to become the new global currency. That's not what I see. I think it's not going that way. And but without going into details, it looks like these are moving. There's stuff moving around, and how that. I mean, it feels like we're still moving things, but I don't know really what to make of it entirely. A lot of stuff still looks like a bit of a mess, but moving in a direction of project funding for anybody who's got something that they can do, that they can get funds to do those things. So projects are being funded now, I'm told, backed by some gold that was moved from the Philippines to China. That's one aspect of it. So I think all indications are that is happening, or that has been happening. And other than that, I mean, some private stuff is happening that looks positive for quietly doing stuff. So I feel like things are moving in the right direction where we can do some stuff. And also, I have this underlying hope that we'll somehow go through the whole money control matrix, where the use of money to control people is moved through, but I don't know how that'll look, you know. Anyway, Michael, have you looked at money as an issue much, like as a thing?
Can you ask that a different way, or? Yeah.
My comprehension of money from some is that there's a magic in it. I know quite a bit about the mechanics of how the money's created, and often the white bread conspiracy theory idea of how money is a fraud isn't quite, I don't think, the whole story, but the essence of money, using money as a way to get away from barter, looks to me also like as a way to control the masses, where you don't need religion so much, you don't need corporate governments, but you can have a very few amount of people running the monetary system, and you can manage the whole population of the planet, basically. Has it been something you've looked at all?
Not very in depth. I mean, not enough to like answer questions from a an expert point of view or anything. But
Yeah.
it's just when I bloomed into consciousness, I just knew, like, straight from God, straight from source, that my mission was to help as many as possible bloom into this too, and that and only that is
Cool.
the answer to everything else.
Everything
Each
else.
individual being connected in unity consciousness is what's required for the change. Like, the money's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Everything else is, the government is irrelevant, because once everybody is like a new government is just going to be a byproduct manifestation of everybody
Yep.
attaining unity consciousness. So electromagnetic
Okay.
in and out of the body. We need to change the human paradigm. Like, we change from within, and then government is a byproduct of who we are. Money is a byproduct of who we are. Art is a byproduct.
Right.
Science, math, everything.
Right.
All of these things are byproducts of like who and what we are, as a species, and the power is always with the people. Like, our government reflects the current state of the people. It does, and so does the money and everything. I know that, like, people listening to this show and those of us that are awakened would be like, bullshit, it does. And I know it doesn't with us, but if you put us all in one huge melting pot, I
Right.
guarantee you that the government, everything is a perfect reflection of where we're at as a species internally. It's my passion and my mission to cause the internal change in as many people as possible.
Right. I get that. That's exciting to me too. I get that a lot. Which is, really where the focus for me is, even though I've got my hand in a lot of stuff with this other stuff, I just see it as a consequence of where we're at. So for us to do this work, for me, I'm more interested in, even though I'm trying to give like an update, it's hard for me to give an update in a public forum where I'm like watching every word that I'm saying. I'm trying to think, is that something that I can talk about? And so it sounds really like I'm all over the shop, and it's hard to talk about in this setting. But I think that for me, the most important thing is to work in the way that we're comprehending more who we are, what our capacities are, how the whole matrix works, and learning from Michael, like how to manage ourself on the inside of who we are, so that we can see, okay, actually we need to clear ourselves of things, otherwise we're recreating things that are what we don't really prefer. So move towards what we prefer more. All right. Well, anyway, I feel like I've interrupted. I wanted to join you, but I wanted to join you at the beginning, so I didn't interrupt, but I've interrupted. I didn't hear the first part, and so I'm really keen to.
Yeah,
oh, good.
It's everything always works in divine timing, man.
Yeah, my son's a little bit sick, so he stayed home from school, and we're just looking after him.
Oh, say hi from that crazy lady that he
heard you a little bit. He heard you. Yeah.
Well, what we decided was to focus more on ourselves a little bit rather than the global stage this week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah? So we can go for it whenever you're ready, Michael.
Okay, I think this time, obviously we're decided.
Before we start, one thing I would like to ask you a couple of questions regarding that, like the work this week. I've been working on you talked about a lot about the heart, that heart center, like building that and how it gets kind of sort of crystallized, a little bit kind of grippy. It keeps going really back, like the spine. It's from feels a lot the spine. Is that a difference in focus? Do you recommend focusing more, pulling it more to the heart, or is this something else? What is it related? But it keeps coming back when I'm sitting up and I get my spine straight and work on the pulling, the drawing the energy into the heart center. And then the spine goes really feels like rigid, like a crystal, and kind of solidified more. It feels really quite good, like feels like tuned up, like a resonant, it goes boom. And I feel really like that's really good. But I'm wondering how that relates. Is it
Okay, so you're wondering if because your spine is crystallizing that maybe you're putting too much attention there and need to put more on your
well, yeah, I guess I'm wanting to know, would it be beneficial to keep working on that or to redirect that, or I want some feedback from your experience.
yeah, definitely. I mean, in my development, I did all of my frontal first. So I was very adept at solidifying my frontal energy centers, and I'm still finishing up, completing my back channels. And, I know that might sound like, but you've been at this a long time and you're an energy master. I mean, nobody's really a master. Like, a person's a real master when they've mastered the form that they're in. So, we're in constant stages of growth within this embodiment until we master those forms. But yeah, I'm working on my back channels right now, because I put so much attention on my front. But yeah, that's totally important, and it feels great, doesn't it, when your spine starts to straighten? And just like I was explaining on the other show, how in a crystal structure, every atom, every molecule supports, sustains, and upholds. Like our spines, our physical spines are heavy and compressed and achy. But when you begin to crystallize, it like gets erect and everything holds each other up, and your spine starts to feel light as a feather, yet hard as a rock.
And it feels resonant. Yeah, like it's like a resonant feeling.
Yeah, and then, the neck is the harder part to get it through. The upper back is like the easier one to initiate and activate down. But the neck and the throat areas, both of these within the human body are major areas of blockage. The throat, because it's very weak. Like within the human throat, within this embodiment, our throat is vulnerable, very vulnerable. It hurts. It's a soft spot. So it's hard to feel power there. Do you know what I mean? Because it's such a vulnerable spot. But work on that, work on getting that crystalline feeling up into the back of your neck, and then forward and up into your throat. And it's uncomfortable at first because it'll feel like you're choking. It'll feel like you're getting choked because it's like your physical throat is going to solidify. And that's uncomfortable at first. But once you, sink into it and allow it, it's going to be that same marvelous feeling, that you got in the crystal heart. And that completes your channels so that your heart can be in full communication with the head. Once it solidifies like that.
All right.
Hold that. Practice it every night as you go to sleep and see if you can bloom and flower that crystalline energy up into your head through your neck, and that'll open up, many doorways.
Yeah. Are you doing it right now? Because I could feel it plowing up through the eyes and the sinus and like that. When you were doing that, I was like, oh, that feels cool.
Yeah, I was doing it as I was.
Yeah, you were describing it. I was like, oh, that's cool, Michael. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'll see if I can do more of that in the group meditation. And and I'll try to put a little more focus on the lighter densities of energy, so that more of the listening audience can benefit if they haven't crystallized yet. And we're going to be
really opens the sinuses up, doesn't it?
We're going to be working on cleaning, so I'm going to be using quartz. And I don't use crystals in the traditional sense. To me, these don't have energy. These are a solidified pattern, and I can project my consciousness out of my body through my hand inside of here to where I feel it as an extension of my body. And then, because of the laws of unity, that everything's actually in that singular point, I internalize the crystal, which makes my whole body adopt its pattern. And then
Okay.
because I'm unifying with everybody else, it's like we get a crystal bath, like quartz crystal literally goes through everything. And these are like eternal bars of soap. They clean you from the inside out, and they never get dirty. You know what I mean? It's like once you know how to merge consciousness with it, you can just give yourself a total clean down. Once you're able to vibrate into it. There's different levels too. So I'm not saying that people of a lighter level can't work with crystals, but the big magic happens when you can compress your consciousness into crystalline density, and
Cool.
you're definitely getting it.
Okay.
Thanks for explaining.
Let's go do this thing.
Yep.
I will turn off my camera and mute
Yep.
myself out, and it's all yours, Michael.
Okay. Going to try to speak up a little bit. I had some comments that I'm coming through soft, and I don't understand why my mic is turned all the way up. But so if I sound loud to some of you, it was at the request of others who thought I was coming through softly. Okay. Everybody get in the good posture for conducting energy, which is feet flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart, and get your spine straightened out. The biggest blockage in the spinal column is at the solar plexus area, and that's due to our tendency to be hunched forwards. We're always hunching over our computers, our steering wheels of our car, our cell phones, you name it. So to correct that, you really have to overcorrect. I want you to bend backwards, roll your shoulders back, and you literally want to strut forwards, like you want to push your solar plexus forwards and out until you feel the vertebrae in that middle of your back locking tight. So normally they're like this. You want it to lock tight like that and get nice and straight. Okay, once you've gotten there, I want you to begin to breathe very deeply, and I want you to connect your breath to more than just airflow coming in through the nose. On the physical level, breath is a symbol, as is everything else. Ultimately, if you imagine that at the ultimate level you are pure consciousness that's expressing itself as form, then you have to understand that breath is merely a symbol that your consciousness uses to move energy. Same thing with your hands, your feet, so on and so forth. In the physical reality, breath has been a symbol that our consciousness uses to move the density of air in through our nose and our mouth and back out. But breath does a lot more than that once you're connected, once you understand how it all works. Breath connects in electromagnetically to where the conscious symbol of breath, which is really a willpower, or a willpower and a desire, can move energy from anywhere. So you can breathe through your heart. You can place your hand in front of you and breathe energy in and out of it. The breath is mobile like that. So I want you to connect your breath into more than just your air, to where every inhale actually draws energy in from all sides, and every exhale pushes it back out. And just fall into that rhythm. So do about 5 or 6 deep breaths like that. And as you're doing it, begin to obtain the heart-based focus, which is basically, you can feel your head, you can feel your chest. So obviously consciousness is present in both places. You merely take the presence that you have in your head and drop it down into your chest. That simply, you can use a visual. The one I like best is your chest is a frying pan, your head is butter, and it's melting down into the warm frying pan into the center of your chest. As you get more and more of your mind consciousness down into your chest, you will have a greater impact with the energy breathing that you're doing. You'll feel it more and more, and you'll also obtain unity consciousness with the group, because space and time is a mental construct formed by the neuron structure in the brain. It's a way that we've learned to interpret reality. In the heart, we are all one, and I mean that literally. And that is the core. I mean, that's a core truth. The space and time that separates us is also true, but it's a secondary truth. It's not a primary truth. At primary truth, we are within each other. So the key to feeling the group energy is to get more and more of your head focus down here into your chest. And I'm right within all of you guys already. I exist daily in this state where I'm one with everything, in various degrees. It's not like I'm exposed to everything at all time. I can turn it up and turn it down. But right now I'm turning it up, and I've been working on myself a lot. So I'm very compressed. So you'll feel me within yourself as like a radiant ball of magnetic energy, highly compressed. And then my consciousness expands from there outward into the group. And I'm merely using my magnetism to encourage your ego consciousness to span more vibrations than the physical body. So to make my presence more apparent, I'm going to begin to rock back and forth to the left and to the right. And you'll feel energy moving through you as I do. And I can also feel you guys. It's like friction, almost like I'm walking through an invisible barrier. And as I do this, as I make that presence more known, it makes it easier for you guys to connect into the group energy. Because I'm connected to the group energy simultaneously while also moving my physical self. And now I'm going to rock back and forth instead. Okay, a lot of you guys are connected now. The group energy feels very nice and solid. To take it to the next level, I want to remind you that the skin of the body is an artificial barrier that we've set up as consciousness to give ourselves a sense of distinction between what is within and what is without. But it's entirely a mental construct. So you feel energy within yourself, you feel energy outside of yourself. Simply dissolve that skin barrier to where there's no difference between the energy within and the energy without, and that'll vastly increase your degree of connectivity. Just work on that while you're doing your energy breathing. So your idea of lungs, your capacity to breathe, needs to expand to be enveloping your body to where the lungs that you are breathing with becomes a singular sphere all around you. Inhale compresses, exhale expands. Okay, now to connect even more people in, I'm really going to let go of the crystalline core energy. And so for those of you that are there in that super solid energy, please continue to hold it in my stead. And I'm going to begin to lighten up big time and go to the outer perimeters and see if I can magnetically connect more and more people to come in closer to source. Very good, very good. And you guys that were already in the group energy, you could feel like we all grew bigger. Very nice. Okay, now what I'm going to do is begin to weaken the membranes, which are basically mental separations. They're from classification, that there is no point where crystal ends and water begins. There's no point where water ends and air begins, where air ends and ether begins. There's a smooth flow, a smooth flux in between all of these densities. The membrane layer that separates them is caused by our perception. So no matter what density of energy that you're connected into, I'm going to begin to weaken these layers. Because I'm connected to the group mind at this point, I'm going to begin to dissolve our idea of a difference between these densities of energy, which is automatically going to cause more and more of you to solidify your consciousness into greater states of energy. So here we go. Okay, now I'm going to focus entirely on, and as many people that can aid me with this as possible is appreciated. But don't, if you don't feel an immediate stir to do that, then it's totally fine for you just to stay neutral, stay in empathy, and stay in the group energy. That's the most important thing. But I'm going to begin to fully merge consciousness with the clean, cool, cool temperature, crystalline clean quartz energy, and just begin to clean everyone out, all of us out. And I'm not cycling through all the various individuals because that perception doesn't exist right now. We are one huge sphere of energy, and I'm merging all of that with the quartz and cleaning it. As I do this, you guys will feel the energy getting sharper, cleaner. You'll feel the temperature reducing. There will be less heat because there's less friction. Heat is a byproduct of friction. Now, if you're feeling heat within yourself, that's a good thing, because during this process, even though I'm using cooling energy, things that are not clean will heat up because they aren't in friction. They aren't in harmony with that level of love, that level of purity. So they heat up as they get burned out of you. So if you're feeling heat, which I feel a lot of you are, that's good. Just allow it to burn, give it the space to burn out of you. And there comes a magic point where when you get clean enough, the heat ceases and you begin to feel radiant coolness within yourself. Okay, now I'm really going to start putting a lot of power into the breath, and it's going to be cooling energy, cooling, cleaning energy going through. So some of you might feel it as heat at first, and if you do, that's healing taking place, that's integration taking place. Be patient, expand, open up, realize that heat is always a product of resistance and friction. So anywhere that you're feeling heat just means that you need to open up and let go a bit more. But I'm going to be doing cooling energy breaths, almost like I'm a white dragon or something, breathing frost inside of you and outside of you. Okay, now I'm just going to continue to hold that level and allow cleaning and healing to take place for just a little bit longer. Okay, now within the group soul, within the group consciousness, I'm going to place a high degree of magnetism on the upper heart and the high chest area. Going to put a great deal of focus into solidifying and crystallizing that area. So if you're really in tune, it'll begin to feel like your heart is forming into a diamond in the very center of your chest. For those of you that are cresting that level, you really have to allow your energy to compact in. In essence, your energy is already there. The crystalline heart is what has been fueling you since the beginning. So it's really more like you're allowing your consciousness to merge with this greater density energy. But the visualization of allowing your energy to compress will help you get there. So for those of you that are already in the diamond heart, I want you to place even more focus, more awareness there. Let it become the summary of all existence. Let it become the center point of all things. And magnetize it so that more consciousness is drawn into that area, so that more people obtain it for themselves. No matter what level people are at, us doing this is going to bring them closer to source into greater level energy, cleaner energy. Once you've got that solid crystalline heart in the center of your chest, through empathy, allow it to spread throughout the rest of your body. Let your entire body begin to adopt that pattern to where it's like your body freezes into a crystal. Okay, and from here, where we hold this level, is the opportunity for all the listeners to use the group energy. Now that it's very nice and clean and sparkly, for anything that you need in life. If you need healing for yourself, if you need a manifestation, a new job, a new friend, you name it, whatever you need for yourself, for your own happiness, which is very important. You know, each individual's happiness is extremely important because the combined happiness of all individuals equals the happiness of the whole. So please do use this energy to help yourself be happier. And don't feel bad about it. But anything that you need, simply place the desire for what that is that you need within the center of your heart. Within the desire itself, the very feeling of what you need is contained all the specifics. The exact path of getting it done, you do not need to visualize. You just need to hold the desire of what it is that you want and hold it. Like, don't let your mind wander to something else. And that's harder than it sounds. If any of you guys can truly hold the feeling of the desire of what you want for more than 3 or 4 seconds, I will be very impressed. Because even at my level, I can't hold a singular thought or a singular feeling for that long. So work on it. If it slips, if your mind has wandered and you're on to feeling or thinking about something else, go back into what it is that you need, place it in the center of your chest, and hold it. Don't let it move. Don't wander to a different feeling. Don't wander to a different thought. Hold it and solidify it. As you do, yeah, good job, good job. I felt one or two, it's hard to say within the group, but somebody solidified one. Like, even holding one of these for 2 seconds causes it to crystallize, to grow. It starts out as a little seed, and every millisecond that you hold it, it exponentially grows in level of realism, density of energy. It's like a construct. You need to hold it long enough to where it expands big enough to where it'll actually influence and change the physical reality, whether that's healing for your body or an event in your life. So I'm just going to go quiet for about a minute and give everybody an opportunity to do that to the best of their ability. Okay, everybody feel free to open their eyes and come out of it at your own speed. If you're in the chat, please give some feedback. And welcome back.
Thank you.
That was awesome. I don't like coming out of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Actually, I find that it carries through for the whole day, and it's easy to come back to it really regularly as well.
It is. The more you do it, the more because as I explained so many times, the space that separates us is the brain interpreting variance and vibration. Same thing with the time. So, we're always in meditation. We're always connected as a group.
Yeah.
We're just observing different ranges of vibration where it seems like we're not.
Yeah, I've been practicing that, Michael, where I think, okay, well, if I'm then and there doing it and in the middle of it, then I can carry that, I can tune into that as well and hold it in the now. Like if I'm working on something, that I can blend that clarity and work with it.
No, we've made someone dizzy.
Yeah, chat comment is very.
Oh, I know who that is.
I'm left with a sensation of dizziness. Is it almost euphoric, almost like you're high a little bit? Well, for me, it is straight euphoric. Like it feels like a very pleasurable drug every time I do that. And thanks for the feedback.
Maybe she's so dizzy she fell off a chair and can't write.
Whoa.
I hope you're okay, darling.
She's on the floor. Help me, I can't get up.
Wow, yeah, powerful. Nice. Okay. Yes, definitely very euphoric. Oh, that's good. Glad to know. I'm glad you're okay and you're not on the floor.
Mark, did you, Lisa, get to the point where your eyeballs started radiating cold? Like,
they feel cool right now, actually. I wasn't focused on that, but I can feel the coolness now as well. My body went more cool. And also I felt like I was inside the crystal. Like it had a really strong visual of being in one of those crystals, that really clear quartz, just like happily sitting in it, like it was bigger than my body.
Exactly.
And I thought, yeah, just sitting in it.
That's exactly what I'm doing with the crystal when I draw it. Like all of space is an interpretation. So it's like whether you view it as expanding the crystal to being all around you or shrinking yourself to go, same thing. It's just whatever.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
And then that felt
exactly
like
what it is.
Yeah, that felt like that it wasn't just being in the crystal. It was like that was a state of awareness of the whole thing being the orchestra that's all in movement but can stop and go backwards, and it's just like almost like watching a movie or something. Like it's a 3D holographic sort of thing that visual of that. Still feels strong though. Well, no, it still feels the same. It's actually feeling like, and it started raining when we were doing the meditation. It started this cool rain. It's a real cool day, so everything feels really calm.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a very cool day where I am too, I can tell you. Okay, well.
Eyes catch the cooling energy. I call that the crystal tears.
Yeah, it feels cold, doesn't it?
Yeah, the same. How whenever we're feeling pain or suffering of any kind, how it feels good to cry, like that heals it. Well, the crystal tears is when you're perfect in that crystalline energy, and you get it up here, and the eyeballs start to radiate frost. If you put your consciousness there, you'll see that it's the same exact mechanism as when you cry, but it's solid tears, like crystal
That's weird.
tears. They don't fall, they don't go anywhere, but they radiate an energy, and any negative anything that you put through it is just washed clean in this
Weird.
super vibrant energy. It's
Yeah.
very
I
nice.
can, as you're doing it as you're
Yeah,
describing
I'm
it.
feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like really like pumping it, but it feels like you're like when you ski without goggles, and it's like really coldness in your eyes.
Yeah, and you can work on that whenever you're eating ice cream or a snow cone or a cold soft drink. When you get the brain freeze, get it on purpose, and then allow it to spread through empathy to where you have that cooling energy all through your whole system.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Brain freezes aren't pleasant.
Well, you don't have to get it to the point where it hell, but there's different intensities of it.
That's true. Okay.
Michael,
All
you
right,
have
guys,
that task.
we have to go.
Michael-
We have to go. I have to go.
All right. Well, Michael had the task. I just want to report on Michael. How did you go with your task? You had like 48 hours or something, 44 hours or something to do something for us. What was it? He was going to fix everything. What was it he was going to fix last week?
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Did
we
you
just
do
passed
it?
the buck completely.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you fix it well while we were sleeping?
Yeah, that's right. How'd you go with that,
I did,
Michael?
but in a different dimension.
Yeah, nice.
So if you can't perceive it,
I want photo
your
proof. I want
fault.
photo proof. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for
that's too
coming
funny.
on, Mark, and thanks, Biggie, for always being there in the background,
Yeah.
and thanks,
Thanks,
Lisa, for
Biggie.
being who you are and for doing this show with me. Thanks to all the
Thank
listeners,
you.
the
Thank
audience.
you.
Love each and every one of you. I love connecting. I love being a part of our eternal soul family. And love you all very much. Have a great rest of the weekend. A fabulous weekend. See you next week.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Thanks, guys. See you guys.
Bye for now.
Who are we? What are we? Why are we here? How did we get here? When did we begin? In the beginning there was nothing, and then out of the darkness of nothing there was a singularity that was light, and that light expanded to become all. Are we beings created of earth and clay? Were we created by a benevolent God of ancient origin? Were we created in a lab and set loose upon the earth as experiments, as slaves, as beings of light? Our history lies buried in the sands of the past. It is hidden by time, blurred by those who would seek to create a history that they can control. We live entwined in a sticky web that binds our past and shackles our present in an elaborate deception of what isn't and never was. History has been written by the victor, yet who is the victor that has been writing our history? To untangle the web that binds us now, to search for freedom, we must first reach back to the beginning to unravel the mysteries of how it all began. Now, we search for answers. Origins. So it begins at the Untangled Gathering.
If you really had to make a difference on a large scale with minimal resources, how would you go about it? Have you ever dared to dream of doing that which seems impossible? On a planet steeped with corruption and destruction, the question beckons, how do we change it? Media has a far-reaching impact on people and has been used to manipulate humanity into our current destructive patterns. In order to affect people into moving into constructive patterns of behavior, we need to construct a new paradigm of media. Conscious Consumer Network has been created with the explicit intention of giving the amazing truth-seeking, solutions-orientated, alternative media a place to fully realize their true potential, with a cutting-edge, high-tech professional media platform being made available to use at no cost to the broadcaster. In turn, some of the greatest freedom-seeking hearts and souls of our time have realized the true potential of what has been created and have come together to provide their insight and inspiration on CCN. Conscious Consumer Network has become a unique, interactive information and educational network which provides a free-to-view, live-stream, ultra-high-definition channel to the world and features 25 live shows a week and growing with the addition of multiple language broadcasts. CCN has features comparable with mainstream media, such as being able to pause and rewind broadcasts whilst being live streamed. Catch up on this or previous broadcasts, now available from CCN High Definition Downloads. You can now purchase a high definition download of your favorite CCN show from ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a monthly pledger. This can be done with a monthly pledge of €10, which will allow you unlimited access to CCN's high-definition downloads, which hosts a back catalogue of over 250 shows, which have been aired since the launch of CCN on the 1st of January 2015. In order to keep CCN free of corporate sponsorship and advertising, CCN has launched the Pledge 300 campaign. This is a realistic goal with the hopes of securing a minimum of 300 people who will each pledge €10 a month. With this number, we can continue to grow and operate and potentially expand into a second foreign language channel. Without it, CCN will simply not be able to function without succumbing to corporate sponsorship and advertising. Help keep alternative media in the hands of the people. We thank you for supporting free and independent